Hi again, this is Dave Kites, OTOW Woodshop, Ocala, Florida. Tonight this video is about how to use the basics of how to operate our new Harvey Turbo T60S wood turning lathe. This is a brand new lathe. It is a big guy, biggest one we have in the shop now. He swings 24 inches, which means it's 12 inches from the bed to the center of the spindle, except I measured it, it's really 12 3/8, so it's a little over 24-inch swing possible over the bed. It has a 2 horsepower motor on it, but this motor is not your typical DC drive. This is an AC servo motor. It has been in use in the industry, in the machinery industry, for a long time because it's quite powerful and it is able to deliver a lot of overload capacity temporarily, and it maintains constant torque through the whole speed range, whereas the DC drives don't do those things that I just mentioned. So this lathe will deliver a very steady rotation speed at all of the different speeds. The torque is going to be very constant and quite powerful. It's 2 horsepower, like I said. So we're happy with this lathe so far as to what we've seen. It is extremely well made. It is machined to very close tolerances, has lots of heavy duty bearings in here, runs just quiet as can be, has a real nice handle, has a real nice spindle lock, has real nice features that I'm going to show you in detail in a minute. The company, just for your background info, is in California, Southern California, but it's a Chinese-made lathe by the company Harvey, and they are the ones that have made for many years. They've made parts for Powermatic, Jet, and Rikon, and all the big name manufacturers in the States have had major components for their lathes made by this company in China. So they knew what they were doing, and they finally decided to put their own lathe together from the good ideas that they saw from all the other lathes, and so it's really nicely done. So let's take it from the beginning here. We'll go over the controls first. It's a 2-speed, variable speed lathe. The belt change is in here. It's very similar to the Grizzly. You loosen this handle, and then you lift the motor up and down, and you can change the belt, okay? You push this back down, put a little load on it, tighten up the lock handle here. It's the kind that slips out, and you can adjust it, put it back out of the way, and you're done with that. The belt can be changed without taking the spindle apart. You have to take this part out, but it's not complicated. It's one set screw right there, and then it slips off. That makes a hole over here, and you can take the belt off the bottom pulley, and then the top pulley, it just comes out through the hole around the top pulley. So that's a good thing. Has a very nice handle back here. Has a rod hole in it, so when if you do change the belt and you take this off and you put this back on, you'll have something to tighten it up against. Okay, a few things over on this end. We changed position. The spindle lock is here. It's this little lever. If I pull this out this way and then bring it around here and flip it, and then I turn this, well, it went in a hole already. It's locked, okay? And there's no play when it's locked, okay? To unlock it, you just lift it this way over the little slanted piece, and it pulls it out and clicks it in, and it's unlocked now, okay? So pull it out, rotate it down, turn it however much you have to. It'll find the first hole it comes to, boom, in it goes, locked. Just lift it over like that, unlocked, okay. The handle here, once it's locked, you can screw things on and off the spindle, of course, without it turning on you. If for some reason you need to hold it steady, you can put this handle in here and hold it. If you want to turn this instead of the piece that's over here, I guess, something like that, you could do that, okay? So he goes down here, And the tool rack for that, and the knockout rod, and the faceplate wrench, which is good 3/16 of an inch thick here on this one, and most of the other lathes are very thin. Anyway, it's a nice hefty faceplate wrench. He goes in that slot there. So knockout rod, handle, faceplate wrench, spindle lock. Now, it also does indexing. Inside here on the big pulley for the slow speed are where the holes are that this little pin is popping into. And I think it's 96. There's a lot of holes in here. You can do some pretty precise indexing, and you can see those holes if you look in here, and that's where it locks in. Boom. Yep, I can actually see the pin and the spring and everything for that right here inside. So that's the indexing.
Is there a marker on the wheel to tell you where you're...
There is on this handle, there is, you got to look for it, but there is a line right there on this part. And here are the marks for the different holes. Okay, so if this is really built good, I should be lined up with a hole right there. I was, yeah. So yeah, there's a little thin hairline mark on this handle, and then there's this dial-like thing here on the other part. So you can see if you want to do every other hole, you would just do every other hole. Click in when you're ready. Okay, so that's indexing. This, of course, is the locking handle for the head. The head moves all along the bed, whichever way you want. You can turn it around if you want, but we're not going to do that because it weighs a lot. And we're just going to leave it where it is. This is the speed indicator, of course. This is the stop button. This is the go button. This is the direction, forward, neutral, reverse, which is opposite of what the Grizzly lathe is. So you have to remember, look at it. It's labeled F and R. The Grizzly is R and F, but that's the way it is. And then the speed pot control right here, which we turn all the way down this way and up that way. All pretty standard, okay? The spindle has the cone head, which is nice. It gives you more space to work in this area if you're working on the back of your piece. The banjo is big enough, if your piece isn't too big, you can get it out underneath the piece and bring it to the back side, and you can work at it here. There is one accessory for this lathe, and that's a 20-inch bed extension. The bed extension can be bolted on either end, of course, in a high position to be even with this, or in a low position so you can turn off the end, a larger diameter, or you can bolt it on here. When you bolt it on here, you can take the banjo, put it on there, bring the banjo out here underneath your big piece of work, and you can work on the back side of your big piece without turning it around. That's what that's for. The banjo and the rest are here. This is the big rest. It's big. It's top to bottom is much taller than our current rest, and that's so it can reach up to the center here. This is from the bed to the center of the spindle is 12 3/4 inches. They just a nominal 12-inch for a 24-inch nominal swing. Okay. So the dilemma is that our current rests won't reach from this banjo up to the center. So we have, this is a prototype. It's a 3D printed plastic model of what we're intending to do. We're going to take this, put it on here, and we're going to drill and tap 4 holes here and hold this on with cap screws, and then our short rests will get, well, of course there'll be a locking handle here, 3-position locking handle in this piece too. So the shorter posts will work and bring our head up, head of the rest up to the center where we want it. That's not done yet. That's in process. That's a prototype plastic piece. We're going to get that made out of metal, and then we'll have that. In the meantime, this is the only rest that'll fit on this lathe. And after we get that modification done, this rest won't fit on this lathe anymore. This boss is so big that if you put it on top of the adapter part, this edge is up above the center, so it doesn't work. So he's going to get early retirement and live in a drawer somewhere, and all our other rests are going to work on here. And incidentally, it's being worked on to buy a few new rests, a little better quality than some of the ones that we've got now. The banjo is very heavy, but it moves easily. It's a standard cam lock. There's nothing particularly unusual about it, except I wish they'd have made it a little taller so our current rest would have worked, but they didn't. So anyway, there you go. So that's that situation. The tailstock is quite heavy, as everything is, because it's so big. And sometimes you might want to take this off so that you can take the banjo off and clean it, or so you can slide onto the end of the bed a steady rest, a spindle steady or a bowl steady or some other fixture that mounts on the bed and needs to slide in the rails. You would have to take this off to get it on here. So this lathe has a feature. It's not unique. Other lathes have this too. But you bring the rest, the tailstock all the way back, undo the latch, and it swings out of the way. So you have access to the end of the bed, and you can put your thing on, or you can pull the banjo off easily. Okay, nice feature. You don't have to lift this thing, which weighs 60 pounds, I think. At least about 60 pounds. Clamps back on. This has a little stickiness to it, which is good, because when you want to move this, you don't really have to hold that handle up like that. Now it's locked. Okay? The quill goes 4.5 inches out. It is engraved. It has the automatic kick out, so if you have something in here in the taper, and you just keep backing it up until it gets to a point and it hits a pin inside and it pops it out for you. You don't use a rod through this. You do use a rod through the spindle to knock out center or whatever you've put into the Morse taper there, just like on any lathe. Okay, so that's that guy. Like I said, it's not all done yet. This is a remote start and stop switch, no speed control, but start and stop, so that it's magnetic, okay, so that if you have a big piece on here, do you follow me? Yeah, if you have a big piece on here, it's in your way of getting to the stop button. You're over here working. So if you take this when you start and you put it up here, and assuming you don't have the tailstock in position, and you're working here and you need to stop this big piece, you can just hit it and it'll stop. So very handy. Put it just about anywhere that it'll stick. So I'm going to put it there. This is the power switch. Up is off. Down to the right is on. You saw the start button illuminate here on this guy, and then the speed readout illuminated over here on the speed readout. I'll start it up just to show you how it works quietly. I'm going to turn the speed pot all the way down. I'm going to turn it to forward speed. I'm going to check that I'm on the high speed. Okay, that's the high speed position. This is the low speed position. The high speed position goes from 200 to 3,500 RPM. But it actually does better than that, because now that it's all forward minimum pot, it didn't start. So if I tweak that just a tiny bit, that's going quite slow. It's not going 200 RPM. So that's all they're going to guarantee that it'll do, but it does much slower than that, even on the high speed. So if we put it on the low speed and we do this trick down here at the low end of the speed pot, we'll get even better control of very slow speeds, which if you're putting on finish or something like that where you want it slow, then you're going to have the ability to do it here. And then you can just speed it on up. And that's 3,529 RPM. Just as quiet and steady as you could ask for it. Very nice. It responds pretty quickly. We're down at 1531 now, and stopped. So it takes a second or two to stop. There's no load on it right now, so it's just coasting as free as the wind, and so it takes a little bit for it to stop. There's not much friction in the bearings. Now I'll put this back to neutral, and that's the way the controls work. The remote button works just fine. If I give it a little speed, put it here, there she goes. There she stops. So that's the basics of how to operate this thing. This is a guard, comes with the machine. If you bring this down in here, and if this was over here, and you were doing something in here, if you stand over here and your piece comes apart, the pieces are going to hit this, of course, and not hit you in your face shield, which you will have on, and in the face. So that's good. And if you're over here, they're probably going to fly this way, and they're not going to come this way. So maybe, but they might bounce. All right, so not as protected there, but there it is. I don't know how many people are going to use this because it's a little hard to see through it. This grid, your eye isn't focusing right because this is close and that's farther away, and it's just hard to see. Okay, you can see over here okay, but I'm not sure how much additional protection you're really getting. So I put this on. I'm going to leave it on, and if you choose to use it, you can, and if you don't, you just trust your face shield, which we always wear. So then that's that. The weight, the lathe weighs 726 pounds. It's the heaviest lathe we've got. The Grizzly is 550, I think. So this is almost 200 pounds heavier. It's not going to walk. I have not done anything to hold it down to the floor at this point. I'm going to see what experience says. If somebody has some big pieces in their storage unit, I think I know one guy that does, and you put them on here and it's out of balance and it starts to move the lathe, then we'll look at making it so it can't walk. But right now it's just sitting here, and I don't think it's going to walk without having a really big, really out of balance load. So we're going to leave it there. We got the chip collector here so it doesn't all go down there for you to have to break your back to clean up. There was a bunch that's going to go down through here, so you're still going to have to do the floor underneath here, but at least most of it will be in the back here. When you have it, your chips are going out that way, they're going to end up on here. And I'm going to put a baffle here so they don't go in the corner. Okay, yet to come. Like I said, we're not completely done. So when we announce that this is ready for people to use, we'll tell you whatever conditions there might be about that. Like one of them might be that you got to watch this video, and one is maybe if you're not a turner and experienced on lathes, that you don't use this lathe until you've had some personal instruction on at least the basics or something like that. But we don't want everybody to just say, oh, it's new, I think I'll try it out. I've never done any turning before, but I think I'll go try it out. That is not a safe thing to have happen, and so we're going to try to avoid people doing that. So don't feel picked on, we're just trying to keep you safe. Okay, so that's about the Harvey lathe. I want to thank you for watching the video. We're going to release it or start using it the week of after Halloween. So watch your email for the message, and whatever it tells you to do, I'm sure you'll do it, and then we'll all begin to enjoy our new wonderful, I think, going to be wonderful lathe.